if you have purchased a PA 26577, that's the ProFit bell housing from Performance Automatic. That bell housing actually fits both the 157 and the 164 tooth flywheel. Now, in order to get it on correctly and have it used correctly, I'm going to show you a couple tips. Now, if you are using it with a 157 tooth setup, you do not use the spacer ring. So you would take the bell as it is and install it with the factory bolts onto the transmission. Now with the 157, you're going to use the two inner starter bolt holes. Say you need a 164 tooth. You take the spacer ring, and some of them are gold and some of them are silver, but they're all the same. Line up the holes on the transmission. Now, since you're using the spacer ring, we do provide a longer set of bolts for you. So you're going to put those in and install the same way. Now you'll tighten the bolts to 45 foot-pounds. That is the factory recommended torque. Get them all started first. Now with the 164 setup, you'll of course use the two outer bolt holes. Let me just run these in a little bit. Now, Performance Automatic does recommend that you run a block plate. The block plate is that very thin plate that goes in between the bell housing and the engine. And the reason we recommend that is one, this bell housing was designed directly from Ford blueprints. And it is spaced correctly so that it should have the block plate. Now the block plate does, one, it does space the converter properly, and two, it does space the starter properly. The outside of the block plate prevents the starter from kicking out of position under stress and under load. So when you go to start it, the starter stays positioned properly. And that's why we highly recommend the block plate. There are other manufacturers of bell housings that do not use a block plate, but ours, we strongly recommend that you do. Again, tighten the bolts to 45 foot-pounds and make sure that they are tightened evenly and that there are no obstructions as far as paint or other problems that may be behind the bell housing that would not allow it to seat properly. And that's it. Just like the 5.0 bell that we have here, if you have purchased a bell housing for the 4.6 or 5.4 modular motor, it goes on the same way. But all the modular motors use the 11.5-inch bolt circle 164 tooth flywheel. So those do require that you use the gold or the spacer ring all the time on the mod motors. If you have purchased the FE bell housing, the one that is used for the 426, 427, 428, 390 series engines, the FE series, they do not come with the spacer plate. They are set up to run without the plate, and they just are a direct bolt-on.